everyone, and welcome to our new study in the book of Philippians. We are going to, for the next 5 weeks, study the book of Philippians and see what Paul wrote to them as they sent him a gift. And this is basically, our first week is not going to be a study in the book of Philippians itself. We're more going to look at why Paul wrote the book, when it was written, how it was written, to whom it was written. But to me, what stood out the most was the who of the book of Philippians. Who Paul wrote this book to. And it was this congregation in the city of Philippi, which was also known in those times as Little Rome, because Philippi was also a place where Roman soldiers would retire. So there were a lot of retired Roman soldiers living in Philippi. There was also a lot of Greeks, a lot of tradesmen, and this is the congregation or the place to where Paul is writing his letter. Now, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy what I enjoy about being part of the family of God or being a Christian is the fact that you can go anywhere in the world and you can meet other Christians. I remember when we lived in Abu Dhabi and we'd go to church and they'd ask if there were newcomers, and people would stand up, and if they would say that they're from South Africa, your heart leapt with joy because there's some people that are the same as you that are there. But I mean, more than that, not only your own countrymen, your own people of your own language and race and culture. When we meet other Christians, we're actually meeting someone who we have a deep heart connection with because we share a love and a faith for the same Lord. And this is what Paul experienced on his missionary journeys. He basically went around and he started preaching Christ, and whoever responded, he knew was lovers of God and fellow worshippers of Christ. And when he arrived in Philippi, which was also a miracle that he arrived there, because he was actually on his way to Asia. And the book actually tells us, and you'll read it in your study this week, that the Holy Spirit prevented Paul from going into Asia, and instead he had a dream or a vision of a man from Mesopotamia asking him to come to them and to help them. So Paul actually, by chance, but by the Spirit's leading, ends up in Philippi, and he meets this woman called Lydia, a dealer in purple cloth. Purple cloth was one of the rarest textiles in those days. So Lydia was a lucrative businesswoman. And he meets her and he tells her about Jesus, and she gives her life to Christ and she becomes a Christ follower. And that's just one of the many interesting people, and you'll read it in your study this week, who made up the church in Philippi. And this church started in the home of Lydia, who opened up her home and allowed the home church to be born in Philippi. So this congregation in Philippi writes to Paul while he's in prison in Rome. And Paul is in prison because of his faith, and he's awaiting his trial. And they send him a gift to minister to him while he is in prison. So this letter is a thank you note to the church in Philippi. But enjoy your study this week. You'll see that this book that Paul wrote from prison is actually called the Book of Joy, where joy is mentioned 16 times in 4 chapters. So from it we are going to learn something essential, that joy is not dependent on circumstances, since Paul wrote it while his circumstances was anything but favorable. He experienced joy through what the Philippian church brought him. So enjoy your study this week, and I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.